Okay, so walking into the garage and I see this and I panic because I had flushed last weekend the power steering fluid, and reading the fluid requirement, you're supposed to use automatic transmission fluid. So when I saw this, the first thing I thought is that I blew out my steering rack, and I just panicked because I do not want to pay for a new steering rack. But upon closer inspection, it looks like it's just leaking from my power steering cooler. So I have a car equipped with a power steering cooler that I am going to replace because it's pretty tattered up, and it looks like it's dripping from the lower joint. I removed the Jubilee clips just to see if there was any moisture here, but it's just the bottom one. Now, I didn't tighten or loosen this from before, so I'm thinking it's when I was tightening this screw to mount it that I'll put a lot of stress on this nipple here, and I'm thinking that maybe I damaged the nipple. So I think maybe I damaged the cooler itself. No harm, no foul, since I was going to replace it anyway, but just a little bit scary. So I just got to clean this up. I bought some oil spill, I don't know, you call it, looks like kitty litter, but to clean this up, and gonna have to do that now. Alright guys, so I'm gonna end up ordering a new cooler for the power steering, just because that one's pretty tattered up, and I'm thinking about relocating it, so it's not in front of the radiators and the intercoolers. I'm hoping I could find some place on the bottom, like underneath the bumper. It's tight down there too, so we'll see. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take out the front bumper again and reassess that situation. I also ordered some new switches and a new buzzer for the ignition and the seatbelt. I'm thinking this is defective, but while I wait for those to come in, I'm just gonna tidy up around the car. I'm gonna do the struts on the trunk. One of them is gone and the other one's not enough to keep it up, so I'm gonna replace those. When I get the bumper off, I'm gonna fix the windshield washer pump, because that's not working, and also the windshield wipers. I'm just gonna replace those because those are pretty tattered up. So I'm just gonna do a little tidying up and get to it. right, guys, so I replaced these. There's not much to it. There's basically just a nut that holds one of the eyelets. So this is what they look like, the little struts. There's an eyelet on one side, an eyelet on the other. The one that has the piston, that one shoots to the back, like this basically, and it just there's no bolt in the back. There's actually just a hook. This hook's around it, and then this one gets put on with the bolt, and it has a washer so that it doesn't get actually tightened. So that's the hook I'm talking about in the back. Very easy to replace, and these are the old ones. So in the US, I actually put a word out on YouTube to see if anybody could tell me what's a good replacement, because this part number that I had on here, when I tried to find the same part number, the price I found was $125 each, which is absurd for something like this. So I ended up buying from the same company. So it's Lift-O-Matic. Stabilis is I think is a German company, and this is the part number. And I got this from Summit Racing. So in the US, it's very easy to get, and I believe these cost $22 each, something like that. So also one of them is still good, so I'm gonna save it. This is the one that was bad, and you can see it's completely collapsed. There's just nothing in it, so I'm gonna save this one just as a backup, because they don't normally fill at the same time, so I'll at least have one in case the other one goes bad. So now I'm just gonna do the wipers. Alright guys, so I got the new wipers on there. These are a lot nicer. So these are actually Rain-X silicone Endura. So these are pretty long lasting apparently, because it's silicone instead of a regular rubber. Also, I just noticed this added bonus with the new struts on the trunk. Alright, when I pop the trunk release, it automatically pops up. Never did this before. I guess the struts were really weak, even though, or maybe these are just stronger than the ones that originally had on the car. So I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna move to removing that front bumper and try to fix that windshield washer fluid pump. Okay guys, we got the front bumper off. It was a big pain in the ass because these mounting points on the side here, I mean, they're just a bitch to get to, because it's not like this has a weld nut, so you're basically just backing out one bolt, but on this side you have to hold the bolt head on one side and the nut on the other, and it's very tight. It's really hard to get to, so it's just a pain in the ass. But now that I have the bumper off, I'm just gonna try to figure out what to do as far as mounting that oil cooler. My initial idea was to route these lines and mount it under here, because I don't plan on installing fog lights. Now that I have these headlights, I don't really need a fog light. However, I have my remote oil filter right there, so I need to think about where I could position that. It's also kind of in the way of getting the bumper on and off. Not that I plan on doing that a lot, but it's just packaging. So I'm gonna see if I could actually it's an air scoop basically, but it's where the fog light goes right here. I'm thinking of cutting back this a little bit so that this doesn't protrude so much into the car, and that'll give me a little bit more real estate to perhaps put an oil cooler there. They're very small. I think the one I ordered is like 5x7. So yeah, just plumbing. Also, another pain in the butt is you got to remove the reservoir for the washer fluid. It kind of takes up all the space here. That would be a really good location to put a lot of stuff if I didn't have that gigantic tank in there. And now that I could also show you, this is the tank. These the posts that were here, there's like a threaded post that comes out, and that's what kind of holds it in place along with this collar. They corroded and completely came off. I cleaned out the tank and everything, and I kind of rigged something here where I just crazy glued a washer with a stud, but you see one already popped off. So I might try to find like an aftermarket kit or something that just makes this a little bit smaller, but I really have no idea where to put it because this engine bay is pretty packed as it is. And you know, Maserati was kind of smart to package it over here in a way, but again, it's gonna be touch and go, I guess. So yeah, let's wait for that oil cooler to come in and see if we could relocate some of this stuff. So this is the windshield washer pump, brand new one. I traced the issue to see if there was power and ground. Everything was good, so that meant that it was the old pump that was bad. Now I just happen to have one here. I bought this years ago. I think what happened is this stopped working a few years ago, and while I was messing around with it, I just got it to work again. I don't know if it just like had sediment in the motor or whatever it was, but this time it's completely dead, so I replaced it with a new one. It comes with a gasket or grommet like this one, and you basically just push it on. Very simple. And again, just the power and the ground, and then the line for the washer fluid. I finally got the new hazard switch. Not new, used. Hopefully it's a functioning one. So I'm just gonna pop this in and keep my fingers crossed that it was just the switch that was bad. Again, I did also replace the relay for the actual blinker. This is the original one. The one I replaced it with, I got it. I believe it was off of AutoZone or something. I'll put the link in the description, because if you guys ever need to replace it, it was pretty inexpensive compared to buying a Maserati specific one, and it's readily available. I think I got it at Napa, to be honest with you. So we're gonna pop that in, and then I also got this secondhand. Again, it's a Hail Mary move. I don't know if this was actually the issue or if it's the wiring. Again, I thought this would be fixed by replacing the fuse box with the Biturbo box, but that didn't fix it. I did open up the one that I had in the car, and I don't know if you could see, but basically you could see somebody soldered a resistor there. So, and I see some, some charred burnt marks or something. So I'm thinking for somebody to weld a resistor there is because this thing might have given them issues, and they probably just tried to fix the part instead of replacing it. So again, I got a second-hand one, same exact part. These are actually hard to find. When you tell people what you're looking for, they really don't know what you're talking about. So again, this is the buzzer that lets you know, I believe, if you have your key in the ignition, and also if you have your seatbelt off or not plugged in. It's supposed to have like a timer in the circuit that after X amount of seconds of beeping will eventually turn off. It's just to remind you. So let's pop these two guys in the car and see if it fixes those two issues. All right, I'm gonna try to do this one-handed. It might not work, but just gonna try it here. Stick the switch in there. By the way, guys, the fog light switch, I figured out that even though it doesn't always make contact, it is functioning. It's just the issue was that if you press it really fast, okay, so just pressing that, my hazards went on. So that was the issue. So the switch was the problem. So let me just I'll plug that in a little bit better, but you could see, and it's hard to tell because it's daylight, but the hazard light is also illuminating. And by the way, this switch connects all of the blinkers, so if this switch is not connected, none of your blinkers will work, because all of the circuitry connects here before going to the relay. So in any case, I'm just gonna put the camera down. I'm gonna plug this in a little bit better and pop this back inside the dashboard, and then we'll move on to try to pop this guy in underneath the dash over there. So let's get to... Okay, so this is the plug for the buzzer. I'm gonna connect that and keep our fingers crossed. So now we're going to close the car up and try to come in, put the key in the ignition, and see if that thing works correctly. Okay. So we're putting the key in the ignition. So it's beeping. I'm gonna start the car. Still beeping. I'm gonna put on my seatbelt. I guess it's safe to say that the issue is not the buzzer itself, something in the wiring. So it could be, let me turn this off. So it basically, as soon as it has power from the ignition, let me see if I just turn to the on position, it starts buzzing. So something is not cutting so basically it's almost like the timer to turn it off is not working. Now it could be so many things. It could be the signal coming from the ignition that's not cutting it off, or even the seatbelt. So I think what I'm going to do for now is just leave that unplugged, because that's something that's going to involve some diagnosis of wiring, and it's actually something that's good to do during the winter months, because you could just take apart some of these components while the car's inside the garage. But that's something I'm going to dive into later. It's not a crucial part of the car. That's been disconnected for a while now, and it doesn't affect how the car runs, so I'm just going to leave it off. Okay guys, so we fixed a lot of little things. I'm happy about the hazards working now, because that's something you need. I still haven't figured out the horn. I'm gonna call Biturbo because something's wacky. So you guys know I did the wiring harness to control the lights, the fans, the starter motor, the AC. I did all that wiring. However, the horn is just one wire, one power supply comes straight out of the fuse box, and then one ground wire that goes straight to ground. There's no additional fuse or relay. Everything's controlled by the fuse box. And right now, whenever I turn the key on to the on position in the car, the horn goes on. So I was looking at the fuse box cover. This is the Biturbo fuse cover. I noticed that the fuse that controls the horn, which is labeled here, a 15 amp fuse, so that's the fourth one from the right, that's not accurate. This is the one that controls the horn, and here it's labeled has the fuel door. I removed this fuse and I can still pop the fuel door, no issues. So this is either labeled wrong or something's wrong with the circuitry of my particular fuse box. So I'm gonna reach out to those guys, see if they could shine some light on this mystery, because again, this is something I'm disappointed, because I thought the Biturbo would definitely fix that, and it hasn't. So aside from that, the only other thing I could think of is you know, follow the wires from the horn button on the steering column and rewire my whole new horns on my own, circumventing the fuse box altogether. Also, you know, I showed you that I replaced the this is the location of the windshield washer fluid tank. I replaced the pump. However, I'm debating whether to get rid of that gigantic tank, because there's a lot of space here that I could utilize for other things in the future. Maybe I could put my horns here too. So I gotta kind of figure out what I want to do there. On this side, so I told you I'm gonna order a new I ordered a new radiator for this, for the power steering fluid, and I got it. It's this little guy. You could compare the size of the old one to the new one. It's about, you know, I would say 50% smaller, maybe. And I'm thinking I could mount it somewhere down here where it gets more air. So even though it's a smaller cooling area, you'll get more air and it won't block airflow to the radiator and the intercooler. So that's the plan, but that'll be for another video. And again, I got to figure out this remote oil filter location, because there's not a lot of room here with the vacuum pump, that and this all kind of sitting in the same area. So just have to plan this out and see what makes sense. So guys, thanks for watching. I'm gonna call it this video, I'm gonna end it here. Again, there's a lot of more little things to tackle, but I think in this video, you know, I at least took care of some of the things. I'm happy about the hazards, and I got little things working, like the windshield wipers are new, and you know, we got the struts in the trunk and things like that. So I'll try to keep you guys updated. Weather's getting colder, but see you soon, and keep watching. Thank you.